loves you. Not me. Do I love you? Nah.
Hi, hello, it is Rude Wonhoe and welcome back to my channel. Today I am risking my life at the hands of stays. Lovely! Now before I say absolutely anything, I am put a giant preface here. I have been a stay since pre-debut. Calm your cooties. Please, I am begging you. I absolutely adore Stray Kids. They have helped me through many dark times. And this is coming from the perspective of someone who is a stay and will always be a stay. So please, before you comment something along the lines of, you're an auntie, your opinion doesn't matter, know that I absolutely love and adore Stray Kids and will love and adore them for all time. Okay, thank you. Please don't make me remind you. I'd also quickly like to say this as a preface as well. What I am talking about today, I do not blame on the members. What I am talking about today, I do not blame on Stray Kids, and in particular with this topic, Bangchan. I do not blame them. So before you say that I am blaming them, know your place. I am letting you know now that I am not blaming them, so you can calm down a little. Don't worry, this video is not going to be a video blindly hating on Bangchan or a video blindly hating on Stray Kids. Now, I know I'm late to the party, but I'm sure every single one of you is aware of a situation that happened semi-recently at this point, where basically, to summarize, a very difficult situation to summarize, on Chan's room, Chan had made a comment referencing how he found abs. Sorry, I always get distracted by the background of my videos. He made a comment about how he found that K-pop groups nowadays had different manners than what he was used to. Nothing harmful, and it specifically wasn't targeted at anyone in particular. Keep in mind, though his comments were not aimed at any particular group, people who are goofy goobers, to say the least, decided to take his words and use them to hate on IVE, and Wonyoung in particular. Now, as a dive, I am very much aware that Wonyoung receives an unholy amount of hate on a daily basis, and that IVE is constantly embroiled in a scandal that they didn't cause. And it seems like the goofy goobers thought it would be a beautiful idea to take Chan's words and apply them to IVE because of a previous scandal they had, quote scandal, where they were described as being not respectful to their seniors, which I'm not going to go into that now, but just know that it was basically disproven. You can look up videos on YouTube about that whole situation, it's not difficult to find. Talking about today is specifically in relation to how his words were twisted and how this seems to be a common issue with K-pop in general, how words are often twisted even if that wasn't the intent behind the words. Now, before we get even more into it, let me make a very clear distinction. Goofy goobers are one separate thing, stays are another. I'm using goofy goober as a replacement for toxic K-pop stan. Not necessarily toxic stays, just toxic K-pop stans in general. The title may say stays let's talk, but this is just in relation to the fact that it was Bangchan's words being twisted. Now, did I think Bangchan had any ill intent with what he was saying? Not even in the slightest. Bangchan has always treated Chan's room, for better or for worse, like he was talking to friends. While it helped stays like me feel more personally connected with him, it also helped, unfortunately, foster an air of parasocialism around people who were listening into Chan's room, where some people were very clearly a little bit too attached. Now, it's normal to be attached to your idols, and I'm not saying that it is wrong to be attached to your idols. Trust me, I have mentally depended on idols more times than I can count, and Bangchan has been one of those idols. I even jokingly call him my dad amongst my friends because I truly do love and adore Bangchan. But let's be honest, sometimes being entirely open can be a detriment, especially when you're in public eye, because no matter what you do, there's always someone listening who wants to hurt you or hurt others and will take your words and misconstrue them. That's why it's so important for influencers and people with a platform to be careful of what they're saying and be gentle with the way they phrase things. Everything needs to be carefully thought out. Why do you think K-pop companies have PR teams? It's because a small mistake like this can cause big issues. Now, am I saying it's a mistake that Bang Chan spoke to us? No. Am I saying that the way he worded it could have been a bit better and could have been a bit more cautious for the situations of being a public person and therefore the consequences that come with announcing public issues with situations? Yes, I think he could have definitely worded himself better, but I do not think he's in the wrong, even in the slightest. And I don't want to be taken out of context for people to say that I'm blaming him or I think he's wrong, because I'm telling you now, I love that man more than I love myself, and I don't think he's in the wrong. I just think he may or may not have not realized the consequences of the way he worded it specifically. Now, this isn't a Bang Chan quote problem. This is a problem with anyone in public eye, from people with small platforms like me to people with larger platforms like idols. Anyone who has a public platform is somewhat required to monitor the way they speak, because as long as you have one fan, they can take what you say and misconstrue it in a way that could be negative for themselves or for someone else. It could be damaging. And as somebody in the public eye, I think it's very important that although he should be, and 100% I believe he should still be allowed to do Chan's Room, should be allowed to continue expressing himself, maybe he should exercise caution on what specific topics he wants to talk to us about. Now, I just want to take a moment here to specify that when I'm talking about bad actors, I am not necessarily referring to stays. I am talking about people in general who misconstrued his words. People who took his words and used it as a means to attack. Now, I find it rather alarming as a fan of Stray Kids, and in this situation in particular, Bang Chan, that people have been using the fact that bad actors have taken his words out of context as a bit of ammunition to attack Bang Chan, which I think is totally out of pocket. As I've said previously, though he may not have used his platform in the wisest and may have made a small mistake by wording himself the way he did, I don't think he was necessarily wrong for speaking his opinion. He should be allowed to. But obviously in this case, it has caused blowback for completely unjustified reasons. While of course this whole thing would have never happened if people, bad actors in particular, didn't actually go out of their way to actively make a controversy out of something that didn't need to be. It's actually really disappointing to see the K-pop community be so darn serious about hating on people that they will take totally unrelated situations, totally unrelated words by an idol, and use them to attack another idol. Now, I know that this caused a fan war between dives and stays, which, to be completely honest, I think both sides were somewhat in the wrong, but I'm not going to go into that. The issue here is that the K-pop community has a serious problem, and that problem is misconstruing words that idols say to suit their narratives. Stop that. Seriously, I see people preaching all the time about how they wish idols were able and allowed to speak their mind more often, how people wish idols had more freedom to talk about things they wanted to, how they wish that they were able to speak more honestly about things that are bothering them. But when these idols do come out about mental health issues, about minor problems, about things that they're going through, or just want to talk, K-pop stans will twist that against them as if they hadn't just preached 2 months earlier in a tweet that they shouldn't be bullying people because bullying is bad and you shouldn't bully idols because mental health matters. It's clear that some, maybe a good portion, of these toxic stans have no self-awareness. They'll do the exact things they preach against. They'll use the words of groups that they don't like to fuel their hate. They'll use the words of groups that they do like to fuel their hate for groups they don't like. They'll use the words of an idol they know nothing about, or maybe they do know about, to fuel their disliking for a group for no other reason than they need a proper justification in their minds to hate on that group. And using idols as a scapegoat as to why you hate on that group is a cheap tactic. If you are going to hate on a group, which you shouldn't be doing in the first place, at least do so with your full chest instead of presenting this weak argument that X idol alluded to something random and that totally relates to this group that happened to be in the same room as them one time. That's cray-cray. And then when K-pop companies take away these idols' rights and programs and other things that they have to access social media and talk with fans freely, y'all start complaining that X company is doing X thing to remove their rights. How dare they? We need to protect the idol. Which, yes, protect your idols. Don't get me wrong, K-pop companies are bad, frick capitalism. But at the same time, how could you not understand to an extent that these companies are doing this because of toxic people who don't know how to, for the lack of a better word, shut up and not use the words that were never specified against them, unless an idol makes a very specific claim like, I'm going to make something up completely on the spot, do not use this against this idol. If you do, I will come to your door with a box of chocolates that has a note on top that says, please don't do that. So say for example, Yeri from Red Velvet eats NCT Jaehyun's nose. And then Jaehyun writes, Yeri ate my nose. I'm so upset. Then you could be like, Yeri, why did you eat his nose? That's so upsetting. But unless an idol is specifically saying who did what, then who are you to guess who they're talking about? Again, this isn't targeted at fans, this is targeted at antis. This is targeted at toxic stans. Something I'll never understand is that these toxic stans advocate for like the protection of the groups that they love, but when it comes to groups that they don't love, they get angry and act like they don't matter, act like their words are a moth to a flame, ready to be lit alight. Like, these people don't seem to have any self-awareness for their actions, and that's what makes it so mildly off-putting. I don't know how else to describe it. It's just a little bit difficult to witness these people completely twist something that did not have to be a big controversy into something that needs to be talked about. Because yes, I have seen an unnecessary amount of hate for Wonyoung come from this. I have seen an unnecessary amount of hate for Stray Kids members to come from this, specifically Bangchan. I've seen a lot of hate towards both sides and both parties involved. And I don't think either of these groups are deserving of hate because guess what? None of them did anything in particularly wrong. There's literally nothing to make a controversy out of. You guys are getting mad over quite literally a assumption that you make about something Bangchan mentioned offhand without negative connotations. He didn't tell us that he was so angry and upset that people weren't greeting him the way he was expecting, that he was going to throw a fit and yeet himself off the stage if he saw it happen one more time. No, he just simply expressed that he thought that the way people were doing things was different. He didn't go out of his way to mention anyone, and I'm pretty sure that was intentional because he probably knew that crazy people online would twist his words. Bangchan himself says he sees everything we say and do. Watch yourselves. What makes this situation something that I feel worth talking about, because there's been situations like this many, many times in the past, is just because I know for certain that Stray Kids and IVE are groups that a lot of people have deep-seated hatred for one reason or another. Obviously, it varies from person to person, but both of these groups are constantly targets of harassment for completely different reasons. And I think that the reason why this was blown out of proportion as much as it was because it gave an opportunity to people on either side of a non-existent argument to that ammunition they felt that they needed to justify hating. I don't know if it's like this for everyone, but I have a very guilty conscience. If I do something that I feel upsets someone, I immediately do my best to rectify the situation. But if I do something objectively wrong, like yelling and swearing at someone, obviously I have a part of my mind that says, well, I yelled and swore at this person because they did something bad to me, or they were rude to me, or my friends or family. That only happens when I'm super stressed out or overly unhappy with the way someone's treating someone I care about. So I see that these people probably feel the same way. As much as people like to treat people who are toxic as if they're completely other from being human, as much as it may seem like it sometimes, they still are human and definitely have a guilty conscience. And I think it makes it a lot easier to stomach hating on a group if you can justify your hatred, even if the reason for justifying it is as simple as this person's words were misconstrued, so now I think they're a terrible person, or this person's words were misconstrued and now I'm using those words that were misconstrued to hate on this person because this person whose words was misconstrued said that they were a terrible person, even if they didn't say anything directly. Obviously, it's a lot easier to hate on something if you feel you have a reason to do so. It's a lot easier to dislike something if you give yourself a reason. So I personally believe this quote-unquote drama was born from a desire to justify hatred on either end, when truthfully, this could have easily been settled with a simple, "Oops, I misworded myself there. Sorry, guys." People have dramatized this event far more than it had to have been. It didn't need to be this dramatic because there was nothing to talk about in the first place. It was a simple, minor complaint. If you're telling me that you haven't complained to your friends at least once in your lifetime, you are a complete and utter liar, or you are literally an angel. And I am not believing that you are a literal, actual angel, because I don't believe in heaven. But other words, what I'm saying here is that it is completely ridiculous, like absolutely, utterly ridiculous, to think that you have a good reason for hating on an idol because you misconstrued someone's words. In this situation, the real victims were literally everyone that wasn't the anti-fans. Fans were at a detriment, idols were at a detriment, and the company had to deal with the aftermath of that. Literally no one has won in this situation. Absolutely no one. Anti-fans have made themselves look like utter fools as if they already didn't look like utter fools. Stans of Stray Kids are now being attacked left and right because they already have a awful reputation for being a pretty toxic fandom, which I can neither confirm nor deny without risking my career on the internet. Dives are unfortunately receiving as much hate as IVE are themselves, because you can't exist in this economy as a beautiful woman without getting somebody angry that you exist, and companies are now restricting idols from literally talking with fans on live, when I'm not going to lie, Chan's room has helped me through a lot of very difficult things and a lot of difficult times in my life. His words on Chan's room have been deeply impactful to me, and thinking that I won't have that anymore is awful. And it's all because of these poopy, stinky, toxic, goofy goobers. So to the goofy goobers of this K-pop community, I hope you're happy, because literally no one else is, you scrunkly little... Alrighty guys, that is it for this video. I am tired, exhausted, emotionally drained, and very stressed out right now. So I'm leaving it at that. Rant over. But really, I just had to get this off my chest. I still think it's ridiculous that in the year, whatever year it is, I forgot, we're still taking words out of context to make people seem like terrible people. Oh god, you gotta love the internet. But yeah, I hope you found this video enjoyable, or if it wasn't really fun, because it's not exactly a funny video, you at least enjoyed listening to my insight. I'd once again like to say, I'm sorry if the title misconstrued you into thinking that I was going to be hating on Stray Kids or hating on stays, because that was not the intent in this video. I would never hate on Stray Kids, and if you think that, you've come to the wrong channel. I'm deeply apologizing for that. Now, that doesn't mean I can't admit the fault of Bang Chan in this situation, where I do think some things should be kept a bit more private, and that maybe he should have talked amongst his members or his friends about this situation. But does that make him wrong? No. He is human. He's allowed to make mistakes. He's allowed to talk to people. But yeah, I'm deeply, deeply, deeply grateful for anyone who stayed this long. It's really unnerving sometimes to use my actual voice, because I don't know if people like what I sound like, so drop a comment if my voice doesn't make you want to scream and wail in pain. Love you all so, so much. Do not forget to drink water, eat something if you're hungry, take your medication, and have a wonderful day, night, evening, morning, afternoon, whatever time it is where you are. Love you so, 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 so much. Rude wonhoe, signing out.